For this week's idea-folio, we will be discussing gaming in the classroom. We will cover how gaming can support students' learning processes, how it can look in a classroom setting, ways to integrate it, and how I will be able to apply it in my future classroom setting. So how can gaming support education? Well, the field of education is beginning to expand and grow beyond the traditional classroom structure. Teachers and other educational professionals are beginning to find creative ways to engage students. Some of these ways to keep students' attention include active learning, open forum conversations, implementing technology, and so forth. Technology that teachers are incorporating includes social media, personal devices, and gaming. The focus for this idea-folio is how gaming can impact the students' learning processes. Educators are branching out and trying to find new ways to interact with students and give the lesson through a new perspective. One way educators can do this is by using games to impact their learning. Some educational professionals see negative sides to implementing these games in the classroom and see them as almost a distraction, but there are many educational professionals that see the positive effects and trying to promote those. First and foremost, games can provide motivation to students and how they learn and engage the classroom. They may be more timid and bored with traditional lecturing. Some teachers may do. Games allow teachers to interact with students beyond simply standing in front of the classroom and lecturing. Other benefits of implementing games in the classroom are it provides new sort of motivation for students' learning. It promotes friendly competition in the classroom setting. It's an innovative way to present course material. It's a new perspective on learning the lessons in the class for students. It helps students engage and keep their attention. It promotes cooperation and collaboration, and it also helps students develop critical thinking skills. Gamifying in a classroom. Gaming, there are a wide variety of ways gamification can take place in a classroom. Games can be used on personal devices of the students or devices the school provides. These games can also be board games or other educational games. Gamification can be implemented throughout the class structure as well. The article Gaming and Education Gamification by Elliot Bristow describes ways this can be done. The article says gamifying the classroom might be a way to improve their engagement, productivity, and enthusiasm for what teachers have to say. Bristow, 2015. Implementing games adds a new dynamic to class structure. Bristow offers 4 ways that educators can gamify their classroom. These examples of gamification he writes about are achievements, badges, levels or ranks, and leaderboards. Each of these can promote a fun, competitive environment for students to learn. These 4 strategies can try having the education process be more student-driven. Implementing games in the classroom. The article 12 Tips for Gamifying a Course by Layla Meyer shares how gaming can be done in the classroom. Games offer a change of pace to the class structure. The article describes the gamification process of a classroom does not simply stop at just playing games. Gamification can be the way the teacher instructs and the way rewards are implemented and how students can be encouraged. And this can increase student participation, teamwork, and communication. For this article, I took away several big aspects that I could implement in my future classroom. One of the first tips Meyer suggests is to start small and continue to develop. I will be sure to when I begin incorporating games in my classroom, I will not implement a sudden drastic change. I will introduce them to the concept and continue to expand it and develop from there. The next tip the article says take advantage of existing games, Meyer 2016. There are a lot of great resources available for teachers of all subjects and grade levels to use. Using existing games can also help with that introductory step when implementing games that coincides with the first step. The next big takeaway for me was get students to develop games, Meyer 2016. I think this is a great way to expand students' creative thinking, innovation, cooperation, and knowledge. Allowing students to create their own games can inspire and motivate their learning processes. It gives students an opportunity to drive their own learning, and it is something I completely support. Another important tip I will apply to my classroom for myself in my future classroom is for myself to play games with other educators. It would be a great way to learn what other teachers were doing and how I can expand my own knowledge. How does games support the final product of learning? Utilizing games in my classroom will result in positive results for my students' learning processes. Students will be able to explore their future class topics with a fun new perspective, not only in my class, but in all of their classes. One of my goals as a future educator will be to have students express their ideas through creating their own games for learning. This type of activity will help students expand their creative thinking ability. They will also be able to apply this skill to their classes in the future. Ultimately, I want to help students see a fun approach to learning the class material throughout their education. Implementing games and gamification in my classroom will support learners in various areas of their education and development. Students will be able to find new motivation to learn and be excited about expanding their knowledge. Learning can be fun. So in particular, how it would look like in my future 8th grade science class. Typically, the year of 8th grade is the physical science year. This is comprised of earth science, life science, and physical science. One of the biggest games that I would try to implement would be a nature scavenger hunt. It would take the children outside the classroom, also involving an aspect of technology and getting them engaged in what we're learning about in the classroom. So the concept of the game would be students would be paired in groups of 2 or 3 children. They would explore an area that we would travel to as a class, such as a park, a school field, forest, a beach, and so forth. I would send the teams a list of items they would need I would send them a list that they can access through their phones and iPads that they would bring with them. These specific items would be items they would need to look for. When students would find those items or examples of those, they would need to take pictures and write down a few notes. It would be a fun way for students to build cooperation and team building through working with one another in this activity. It also allows a piece of technology to be used in this exciting scavenger hunt game. For me, games don't have to stop at simply just that one scavenger hunt. I have other ways that I've contemplated implementing gamification in my classroom. Another way is doing a trivia quiz game with my students at least once a week. So using the tool Quizlet would be a huge portion of this. So for this specific trivia game, I would split the class into groups of 3 or 4. Each would be given an iPad to use so they can access the classroom's Quizlet account. I will read a question, and each team will have 30 seconds to agree and select an answer. The quiz can either be multiple choice, true, false, or a short answer, like writing in a simple word or phrase. Their answer will be selected on the iPad and sent in. And then in front of the class, there's a projector that everyone will be able to see which groups answered what and what the correct answer was. The computer system would be able to keep track of which team had a certain amount of points and would and there would be prizes and rewards given out for students participating in general and for the group that did the best on the trivia quiz. Another way I would implement games in my classroom is accessing this website through Legends of Learning. This website has a lot of great science games for 8th grade science classes in particular. And I have submitted the link below that just says the list of games through categories of life science, earth science, and physical science that I can incorporate in the classroom or even have students engage outside of the classroom. Overall, it's super important that teachers try finding new ways to allow their students to engage in what is being taught. When it's just a simple lecture format, students aren't able to participate, or they typically don't feel motivated to even pay attention to some of that straight up lecture. And for myself, coming from a perspective of being very much an active and visual learner, games are a great way to engage those students who struggled with those lecture format classes, such as myself. I hope that other educators are able to see benefits of having games in the classroom and they can explore those ideas themselves, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to work with them in the future. Thank you for your time. Also, here's my works cited.